I woke up very unhappy. Dude, I'm very scared. I was very scared and uncomfortable. I was scared. I did not have fun watching the movie. I'm just like panic, goosebumps, scared. I want to leave. I think in terms of scared, I was very scared.
All right, people. We're battered, we're beaten, we're worn down, and we're weary, but we've made it back for the third ever episode of Two Men and a Baby, the half-hour-ish horror show where three best friends get together and talk about a new movie each episode.
I love just picturing Will Dubs on the PATH train writing, we're tired and we're weary and we're beaten down, and just like he's got the headphones on like at 8 Mile and he's just like, I'm writing fucking bars right now.
It was on the ferry, so it actually was even more cinematic.
The
experience.
pen flew out.
T.S. Eliot,
Dude, yeah, I had the Hudson River in the skyline.
But welcome back, horror heads. We're glad to have you. We're glad to be back, and let's get this show cooking.
All right, this episode is going to be about The Exorcist, the classic from 1973, directed by William Friedkin. You all know it. You all hopefully love it. Here with Brendan, here with Abbie. Let's dive right in.
Theme song.
2 men and a baby, oh yeah. 2 men and a motherfucking baby.
Dubs, what do you got for us, babe?
Okay, so as we usually do, we're going to start by each going through our one sentence and one sentence only synopsis, which we will then compare to the official one so that everybody knows what the movie is about, though I think most people have probably seen it.
Let's not forget, this podcast is called Two Men and a Baby. The baby of the group is Abbie Krinsky, someone who is not really too keen on horror movies, tends to bite his fingernails and gets real tense during the scary parts. At the end of the show, or maybe in the middle of the show, we don't really know. We're going to do it the way we want, all right? So I don't want any nasty emails coming in. We have a Binkymeter. The Binkymeter denotes how scared was Abbie throughout the movie. All right, let's get back to the synopses.
Who wants to go first?
Oh, I didn't write one. Hold on.
I'll go first. All right. My synopsis for The Exorcist goes a little something like this.
Sorry. If anybody's wondering, that was
Will brought a
delicious.
Macarena that doubles it.
Macarena. Maraca.
Oh my God. Did I say?
No, first of all, it's a thermos packed to the brim with some Twisted Tea and a little bit of Bacardi white rum.
Nice, you got a problem. This synopsis goes like this. A 12-year-old Reagan finds that going through puberty can be a real dance with the devil.
Oh,
Ooh, short and sweet. Mr. Sammy Synopsis went SS.
This went 3 for 3.
compact with it. Okay.
So I'll go next.
An uncomfortably young girl gets possessed by horniness and proceeds to seriously irritate two priests with both her words and her bile.
Simone Biles, baby, that's what we like.
Abbie is
like that.
still writing his as we speak. Churn it out. Scary movie was scary. Oh.
Yeah. All right. Creepy daughter possessed and scares rich famous actress mommy. Scary movie.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Nice.
good. All right. So the synopsis, according to the first Google result, is the story chronicles a single mother's struggle to save her daughter from a mysterious ailment, later revealed to be demonic possession. She enlists the help of 2 Roman Catholic priests who attempt to perform an exorcism.
They nailed it.
Nice.
Yeah, they pretty much described it.
1973. So this shit is old.
Yeah.
And the first thing that
50 years old.
50 years. And that's actually, we got to see it in theaters, which was pretty amazing. We were trying to brainstorm how do we do a classic one, and this happened to be in theaters. 50th anniversary. Also, they're coming out with a new, well, I'm going to guess it's shitty because it looks goddamn awful one, but
But who knows? It could be good.
who knows?
Yeah.
I hope it's good. Because wasn't there another movie? I mean, there was obviously
7
3 other
billion.
ones after this: The Exorcist Beginning, The Exorcist 2, Exorcist 3.
So the only one that's officially canon is Exorcist 3, apparently.
Okay.
Wait, so 2 was not canon?
No, they.
And what about The Beginning with Skarsgård? The Exorcist: The Beginning.
The Exorcist: That's the one I watched last night on Pornhub, if you know what I'm saying.
It's also the first time we didn't record right after the movie, so we've had some time to let these thoughts marinate.
Marinate and or forget
Yeah.
all the things that we saw.
Yeah, it's probably more of that.
So this time, first of all, to start with, we saw this one in Secaucus, New Jersey. at the Kerasotis Showtime Theater, which me and Will grew up slightly going to, but like it's
twice.
Yeah,
maybe.
twice, and it's like next to a Hula Hands. And
Beautiful
it's just
complex. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Beautiful complex.
No, I will say they have some top caliber food chains like
Yeah.
Red Lobster. They got a B-Dubs back there.
You could go dinner hopping there, dude. Get a baked potato from Lobster. Get a Hula Hands.
It's also
quesadilla.
It has to be the only movie theater I've ever been that's like this. You go in, you order your food on a screen, but then it prints out a card, which then you give to a guy later at a concession stand, who then he makes the food live. So it's just like, it almost was cool and smart and ahead of its time, and then it wasn't. And then you're just standing there.
It's really inefficient.
Yeah, when you enter the order on the tablet, you'd think that would shoot to the guy that's making the popcorn. He says, "Ooh, large peppy."
They do have free refills on butter, though. Unlimited butter toast.
Will mentioned the old school trick where you put the straw into the popcorn and then squirt the butter through it intravenously into the bottom of the popcorn.
I like to tilt it and create these little waterfalls along the sides of my bag and then squeeze it to make sure at least it's the outside. The peripheral corns.
The Niagara of
periph
cholesterol.
pops.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
So me and Dubs have obviously seen this movie. I've seen it. This is my probably 5th or 6th time I've seen it. Abbie, first impression, seeing it for the first time, did you enjoy it just overall?
First time, and I'll say I've never seen it, and I didn't know anything about it. I knew that like some movies that I've seen have parodied it, but I knew nothing about it. I didn't even really know the vibes going in. I can repress a movie because of the amount of weed I smoke and the lack of long-term memory. Like, I can forget a movie right after I see it. I've seen Fight Club 6 times, and I go, what's the twist again? Oh, Brad Pitt's taking off his shirt? Okay, nice.
That'll wake you up.
Yeah, exactly. That'll make you want to be paranoid schizophrenic. But I went into it knowing nothing, and I was really impressed. I was really impressed by it. It's not only good, it's cinematic. A lot of old horror movies are cinematic, but this was also scary. And for a movie to have a little girl yell like "fuck my pussy" while stabbing her vagina, there's many scenes we can get into. And it's not funny. Like, it's not funny, even though
it's alarming.
Right, it's alarming, and it's like every part of everything we've been raised to watch. And as someone that's comedy first, it's like, this is the definition of funny. But they did it so well that none of it was funny. None of it took me out of the movie. Every time I thought it was going to take me out, I was like, no, I'm so terrified that I can't even laugh at a girl doing like what should be the silliest. Like, 10-year-old me wants to like die on the floor laughing. And it is so good.
This movie genuinely scared the bejesus out of people when it first came out. Because I remember seeing it and being like, people, this is crazy. They were not doing this in the 70s before that, which I don't know, may or may not be true. But my mom says to this day, she's never been more scared than seeing that as I guess, probably like a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
That should, I totally agree. Also, remastered, it looked amazing. It could have been made yesterday. Like, it doesn't age badly.
In every aspect, how it looked, how it was acted in, how it was directed.
So
I noticed
really
that in the
timeless.
first scene when they're in the desert and the boy's running through the sand. It almost looked so modern. I was like, wait, is the kind of old school film grainy aesthetic going to be taken out of the movie? But it was really just in the really well lit scenes I could notice. It's like the remastered element to the movie.
Also, they like, some old movies, you're like, this is an old movie. They talk like old people. It's old. There are like 3 horror movies that I think that are like, if you put the right filter over it, it could have been made yesterday. It's like this, the Alien, the original Alien, and also The Thing. I just think is like The Thing. You can tell it's older, but I shouldn't say they look like they were made yesterday. I'm just so impressed by how it was made 50 years ago, considering what some of the stuff that comes out today looks.
Exactly. Unbelievable how they did that. And then, I mean, a little into it, it starts off so brilliantly, like a lot, like the good horror movies. Again, I'm learning, I'm new, but I'm going to create my themes, and you guys will tell me if I'm right or wrong. But one of the things it does, and I would guess it's one of the early ones at doing it, it's like so much setup, but it's not boring. It's well done, but it's so much setup to really make you buy that you're in this world. Because the first thing, I'm such a like I'm like, oh, it's a horror movie. Like, I need my defense mechanisms running at 7,000%. So I need to poke holes, and then they lull you in, and you love the mom and the daughter have such a good relationship,
So good.
and the daughter's so likable and cute, and like the mom's realistic and likable, but also has flaws, and you're just like I really got lulled in, and it was a slow burn, and those are the best
She
movies.
also totally looks like 12, and that's what makes it so like jarring
Right.
initially.
And then you got, you bring in like the hottest priest I've ever seen, dude.
That guy's a babe.
Oh
dude.
my god, bring that guy in, and
He's
I'm
also
I'm
dripping
converting.
in holy water swag juice.
Man, I'm
It is
dripping in
crazy.
holy water after that.
I'll be his altar boy. You know what I'm saying? dude?
That man will make me prematurely communion, if you know what I mean.
Oh wow, I'd like some of the body of his Christ. Wait, but also I mean the build up. Yeah, very well done. They're also like they make these kind of like large time jumps in terms of her level of possessed, but none of them feel like they jump too far or not far enough. And also the way they handled like the medical stuff at the beginning of like them trying to treat this practically, and when she gets the spinal tap, dude, that was as scary as some of the other shit.
I'm glad you brought that up because we're talking about the audience reaction and stuff. When the movie first came out, there were people left during the movie because they were so uncomfortable.
Really?
And it wasn't during the scenes where the crucifix stabbing or when she lifts off the bed, spoiler alert, or when the eyes roll back or her head turns around. It was in the scenes that she was getting this sort of these medical torture scenes where she's getting all these tests on her, like the blood spurting out of her neck and stuff. That was the largest percentage of people walking out of the movie came during those parts, which I thought was really interesting.
I want to say one generic feedback thing before I think we should move to the next segment about it. These movies that are this old, I feel like it adds to the appreciation of the craft of the director and the filmmaking. Like when you realize her being upside down doing the like very now cliche exercise like crab walk.
It's called The Exorcist.
That's the dance move.
Her head turning around, the projectile bile, just like the bed shaking. This is all camera tricks and editing and makeup and stuff.
And sound. Can we talk about the sound?
Oh, dude.
From the very
Speaking of-
beginning, the implementation of these animal sounds, the snorting, that they use pig sounds.
Oh, also
during
the
her
subliminal.
exorcism, and then also in the beginning, like that buzzing sound, they actually used insects. So there's like a very from the very beginning, this movie, and this happens to me when I watch horror movies. I don't get scared. My number one reaction is like a big smile across my face. I love, like, I don't know, like to me, a horror movie is successful when I just become like super happy. Like I remember watching that opening scene and seeing Pazuzu, the statue, and like the loud.
Is that his first name? That's his
the
Christian name?
That's the demonic. That's the demon's name. But anyway, it felt almost like a warm blanket. A good horror movie is like a warm blanket, and it makes me happy. And I just was smiling ear to ear, baby, cheesing with it.
It was great.
This is a perfect segue to Baby in the Corner, because I think that there's a couple of really terrifying moments that also, Brendan, you're spot on, where you get that like grin on your face because there's almost like a, there's supposed to be a shudder down your back kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Baby in the Corner is where we're going to find out how scary the movie was with our resident infant scared guy that gets
Resident
scared.
infant,
There we go.
Baby.
So what did you think?
baby girl.
How scary was this movie?
I thought it was, again, as I opened with, it was pretty unbelievable how scary it was for how old it was. It stuck with me longer. I'm trying to figure out how to quantify these.
How many binkies we talking here,
think,
buddy?
And binkies, again, I'm building my barometer as we go.
Build your binkies. Build your
I think-
binkies.
Wait, before, do we remember how many binkies you
Yeah.
gave? So Talk to Me was how many?
Talk to Me was 8 binkies.
8 binkies.
And we're doing out of
Saw-
10, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Saw was like 4 binkies or
Yeah,
something
not too many
stupid.
binkies.
This in Binky score, again, I'm building my barometer as we go. I think compared to Talk to Me mainly, I would say this is going to be a 7.5 binkies for me.
Less than Talk to Me.
Yes, and
Interesting.
and again, I think we'll get to how good we thought it was. I thought it was unbelievably good, and it was very creepy. I think there was just a little less of the darkness, what the fuck is about to happen, and more of a like psychological twist that might have stuck with me longer. So ask me in 2 weeks, and that score might start creeping up. Whereas Talk to Me sort of crept down for me, but I'll say coming out of it pretty quickly, I felt a little more comfortable, but still fucking scary. I mean, 7.5. This is no joke.
I've seen this movie, like you, Brendan, 5 times.
Yeah.
I still think I was more scared watching it the 6th time than I was during Talk to Me.
Interesting.
But I also knew there was a part, we can talk about this in the spoiler room, I think there are 2 just so well done scares that for that, I don't think anyone matched it from Talk to Me.
No, I
Talk
think
to
that's
Me
fair.
might have had more doom constantly, but
I think that's actually really well put. I would say exactly to that point. I was more scared at 2 moments, probably the 2 you're talking about, in The Exorcist than I was in any movie we've seen so far. But Talk to Me, I was literally looking at my watch like I need to leave. And Exorcist, I zooped back in my seat and I said, this is cinema, baby. Let's go. I love this.
Also,
and it was slow. Back in the day, people had fucking attention span, so it's slow, which makes it a better movie, but makes it a little less scary to me, which is good.
A lot of good horror movies do this. Like when it becomes daytime, you're like, I can breathe. I can calm down. Talk to Me. Everything was indoors. Everything was at night. Yeah, there's
no relaxation. Exactly. The last thing I'll say is just this was weirdly connected. It did feel like Saw in a bit of a way. The one connection I'll draw is that they both have this sort of like QAnon, like anti-medical vibe going with them. Like there's a bit of in this movie. It's like so good and it's playing with all your reality, but also like if you take it too seriously, it's like the point of it is like science is fake.
Dude, can we talk about how they tried to give her Ritalin, and I was like, that's exactly what would happen in 2023.
I did not even know Ritalin was
just
that old.
She's just nervous.
Yeah.
It's like, no, she actually walked down the stairs with her head twisting.
They did not call it ADD, but they described exactly. Yeah. They said, yeah, believe it or not, for hyperactivity, you want to give a stimulant. It seems, and I was like, holy fucking shit, this is how we got where we are, and now we got possessed kids high on amphetamines. By the way,
but I did like how they acknowledged it. In the movie, it takes place in the 70s, right? And the movie's based on an actual like story that takes place even earlier than that. But
a true story?
Yeah.
No, it's a book.
Roland Doe. Yeah, it's a book based on a true story. Doesn't matter.
Of ADHD?
No. But I like how they addressed in the movie that even the priest, like someone who's supposed to use God as every solution, was even like, no, these people have, like, he was a therapist first, so he brings that element. He's a trustworthy source when it comes to like the scientific realm of like medicine and stuff. So like you did have that even back then. You had like a voice of like wisdom. I don't know.
No, exactly. And before we get into the plot, that was, I think, again, what made this so good to me is taking a priest that is a psychologist. Brilliant. Because now you're bringing in everybody. Because if you're from the religious background, obviously he's got your back. But if you're from the science background, you're like, holy shit, priests have psychologists? Cool.
Yeah, the non-believers.
Him being like, I think that this half of me, the doctor, needs to treat her. But also, the whole concept of faith, like the exorcism only works if you believe.
If you believe. Yeah. And I liked that. Yeah, exactly.
So normally at this point, we would tell you whether or not we think you should see this movie. Obviously, everybody in the world, this is a must-see, horror or otherwise. I think you
do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. See that movie.
See that thing.
All right, now we've been boiling up this idea. We're calling it Rotten S Tomato. We had a whole argument about the value of the tomato meter, but the boys, Brendan and Abbie, agree they don't want to know. No matter what, we're going to see a movie.
Before we see the movie, yeah.
They're not going to know, so we thought, why don't we kind of do something with that? And I'll usually use the tomato meter as a proxy to find out if something is even worth seeing. But once we're that far, we're all going to see it. We're going to formulate our thoughts. Only I will have known at that point. They will stay blind to it.
Because Will has no self-control.
That's,
of the show.
That's true. But also, I do think it's a good filter for keeping bad shit out and good shit that maybe we wouldn't have seen in. Okay, so it gets really interesting with these classic movies.
Yeah, I think it's a little less valuable, to be honest, but let's play the game.
This is just
I think
more.
You have so many reviews on these classic movies. You probably have thousands and thousands of people, so the numbers are not like a movie that just came out. You have 100 good reviews. It's going to be 100%. Like over time, reviews tend to go down. They tend not to be as strong.
Okay.
It's just a fact.
So Rotten Tomatoes actually it being the 50th anniversary, they went back to archived reviews from the 1970s and put them as good or bad.
Oh, that's
usually
cool.
these old movies. It's based on
Modern
somewhat
ones.
contemporary reviews.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, this is interesting. So you would think it makes it a more true, holistic score.
All right, so I'll go first. I'm gonna get. I mean, it's so hard, but I gotta guess it's an 88% would be my critic review, and then audience score. I'm gonna say 88%. Exactly.
Those are
identical.
excellent guesses.
Yeah, because
that's
I
about
think,
where I would be.
Yeah, my thought would be that the audience, as I would think it'd be higher normally, but because it's this old, dude, the haters rise to the top, and I think haters will come out of the blue and be like, hey, actually, that movie wasn't that good, and they didn't even see it, or they just want to make a change. Okay, Brendan.
Yeah, I think critic score, I'm going to say right around 92, and then audience score 90.
So I would have said the exact same thing. I would think that this is how it was not. He was nominated for Best Director for this movie. That didn't happen again until like Silence of the Lambs.
Holy shit.
It's 78%
Critic.
critic,
Whoa.
and audience is 87%.
So wait, sorry, real quick. When you said that they took old ones and they added it, do they also have new ones, or is that almost
They already
all old
no.
ones?
So I think it already had a score, probably that was higher, and I think by them archiving the older reviews, it drove it down.
Right, because people couldn't handle what it
Well,
represented.
yeah, I think any amazing movie, amazing, not good. Good movies are going to be in the 80s and 90s, but amazing movies are usually a little bit lower because they're going to have divisive. They're going to take chances.
I mean, like Brendan said, if people are walking out of the theater, obviously,
Yeah.
like some critics are going to capture that viewpoint.
Yeah, like, oh, a girl fingered herself with a crucifix. I mean,
there's probably a lot of pearl clutching when the movie first came out. Like people have never seen anything like that before, so they respond in kind. They're like, "What? What am I witnessing with my little eyes right now?"
But to me, this is what,
ouchies, the pupils.
hopefully what will make this fun, though, is because I do think if they hadn't archived the old ones, and I don't know for sure. I didn't do it before and after. I just know that they did that. I think it would have been much higher because anybody that's reviewed it in the last 20 years is like, yeah, this is a classic, the most important horror movie ever, arguably, like one of.
I mean, I made the mistake of just pulling up the reviews, and holy shit, you know how sometimes when you really like feeling down, you read like Fox News comments that just really hate the world. Holy shit, reading the bad reviews for The Exorcist right now are like, I want to hurl my computer out the fucking FiDi window here. It's crazy. This guy says it's the same old shtick. Cynical, morally corrupted. Like the same old shtick. It invented the shtick.
Yeah,
it is the shtick.
It created the shtick.
It's the original shtick.
There's big shtick energy, dude.
Stick to
Do you
what
know,
you know.
do you know there was
dude.
like a huge influx? There was a huge influx of people going to church and getting confessions done after this movie.
Right
like,
after.
dude, the Catholicism business was booming.
I know.
after
We need a
this, so-
Jewish version of The Exorcist, Will. Let's write this
There's
shit.
a movie called The Vigil.
The Exorcist.
I'm not even kidding. There's a movie called The Vigil where a guy has to see Shiva and stay in the house with the corpse of.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's actually, yeah, it's decent.
But dude, this made me want to just pop off, recite the Apostle Creed. Like, let's get the Hail Mary popping. Let's do some Our Fathers. That night, I'm gonna say, dude, I bedded myself down and I looked up to the big man and I said some words. Let's just put it that way.
I went on incognito that night.
All right. Anyway, can somebody give us the creek and take a couple steps down?
Let's do it.
The spoiler room.
All right. So I do want to pay certain attention to a couple of scenes we alluded to earlier. We'll touch on them. But the movie starts with the older priest, Damien. No, not Damien. The other guy,
Deshaun.
Deshaun Prince.
This is like when it
His
looks like
name's Deshaun Prince.
DeColdis Crawford.
This is when it looks like I thought we were in the wrong theater seeing Indiana Jones. And also, then for a second, I'm like, oh, they're in Iraq. They're looking for WMDs. No, they're finding a little creepy thingy.
So he finds a little, like a
frog, a scary frog.
A scary frog. What was the point? I am curious. Where does that?
I really
come
was
in?
like, this is going to come back. It didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a charged object. Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
You know, and then it didn't
from the soil?
Chekhov's
Yeah.
gun did
That
not.
was Pazuzu's head.
And then was it back at the possessed woman's house ever?
That's why he ran to the bigger sculpture to cross-reference. Is
Right.
this the head of this
No, I
demon?
understand.
Why does that matter? That's the demon that
Because
possessed
it
her?
symbolizes the unearthing of a demon.
To help be the
Like, did that
badass.
cause her to get possessed, or is it just getting you a setup to like the world?
It's
that
showing you
evolves?
that whole opening, in my opinion, that whole opening sequence is about the unearthing of a demon that has been dormant for all these years. And then you have him walking through the streets. You're hearing the clanging of metal, the smelting and the melting of iron ore, and it's like almost like the devil's workshop around him, this soundscape that's around him constantly through those scenes. And it's almost like something is brewing. There's all this hell imagery, and it's basically showing how like this demon has been unleashed upon the world and is slowly kind of creating momentum. And yeah, that's kind of what I felt like that sequence was serving as.
Okay, cool. All right, so then what
All right.
happens next?
So I'd say the next main like pivotal scene outside of them establishing who the main characters are, there's like a party.
Yeah, priest party. These priests were getting lit. We got a hot priest. We got a drunk priest. We got a fucking chilling on the couch priest. Like, this is fucking sick.
But it was at Linda Blair's house. She has the party, and the first symptoms of her possession, they're playing on the piano, and she comes down and takes a piss on the floor. Abbie, I tapped you on the shoulder, and I said, Scary Movie makes fun of this. In Scary Movie 2, they're around a piano, and they do back that ass up or like some move, there's some crazy shit, and then she comes and pisses for like 3.5 minutes. Anyway, that was gross. And
it was exactly it signified just what you were in store for. A fucking out there movie. Again, to the main point, how it's not funny is a fucking masterpiece. This man deserves like every Oscar in the book. Like,
True.
how is that not funny? But it's not. It's so creepy. It's so good. She says, "You're gonna die" or something like that, and it's just so creepy. And she just pee-pees all over the
But I
little
like
carpet.
that. I like that. That was the first thing. It was like the slow burn. It's like a kid comes down when their parents are having this party, and peeing on the ground for a young kid isn't like the most outrageous,
Exactly.
outlandish
Yeah.
thing in the world. But it is something that just kind of gives a little Dutch angle to your perspective on the situation. Everyone looks at it like, oh, okay, this is strange, but also something that we can forget about. It's a kid, whatever. They say wacky stuff. Sometimes they piss themselves.
Can I say something? Brendan, you're crushing it right now. You said soundscape and then Dutch angle, and talking about the
want the film
unearthing.
school. At least I can-
No, but
I'm
I'm supposed. I
give
feel like I'm being strong dicked over here. I don't know. No, it's good stuff.
Hey, dude. Zuzu's dick.
All right.
Remember that? The snake dick? Do you remember that scene?
That
was weird.
So
Why
another
did they include that?
snake dick.
I was gonna say the dude
The
had
statue
a huge
has
schlong.
a big like heart on. That was a
Huge schlong.
snake. The statue.
I was looking into his eyes.
Yo, eyes up here. Eyes up here. Zuzu was like,
Dick down here, bro.
All right. So there's like the medical stuff, but also another key plot point is that Damien, the priest that we're also getting to know on the side, is feeling bad about not being with his mom and stuff. And then the mom goes to the hospital. He goes, meets the brother, and then apparently she dies.
Mm-hmm.
What's weird, though, is at some point, somebody says,
Dies
you
at
know,
home.
the mother died at home. Yeah. And they don't really answer that question.
No, it was weird. and it was
I have
creepy.
2 questions written down. One is, what was the purpose of Iraq? I actually think, Brendan, the literal unearthing
Mm-hmm.
of a devil, that's pretty fucking good. But what happened to the mother of Damien?
Yeah, that was confusing to me as well. I didn't know if because like she's in the hospice care, that like really poorly run hospital.
Yeah.
But
And you
maybe
would
she
think-
wasn't.
And you would think that she died there, but or was that like hallucination? Did she die previous, or are we just looking into this way too much and she went home and died? I don't know. It's a good question. Was it a symbol
It might
for
be
like
the latter.
for like like a purgatory state where she's like surrounded by all these kind of like fallen angels? I kind of got that vibe after hearing like them say, "Oh, you know, his mother just died from home." So I don't know. That's a good question. I also was confused by that.
And they definitely insinuated like she was possessed or she was dealing with the devil or possession. And
Yeah.
they didn't really close that knot, which again, it sort of worked. It left
Wait,
us
you're talking about
uneasy.
the mom?
Yeah. No,
Well,
you
she was
didn't
sick.
take
She
any?
was sick.
Right.
Yeah, she was.
yeah.
So nothing
No,
supernatural
well,
there.
I don't think so, except for the fact that Damien may or may not have hallucinated this other. So it, in my opinion, the horror, the possession, all of the bad stuff, is pretty much contained to
Reagan.
Reagan and the house, except for two things: this and the church desecration, which they showed us at the very beginning. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And they also don't really come back to what happened at the church,
Yeah.
except for the police detective who I loved.
Yeah.
That guy was dope. Also, main character in part 3 for a little bit.
The church,
But
thing,
those two things that
yeah.
were kind of unanswered.
You can
those
sort of infer because if you think about because the statue was desecrated with like it looked like it was built upon like the breasts and like there was also like that phallic imagery on the Virgin Mary statue. It looked like it was sculpted on, and Reagan she worked the clay a lot. She like made these clay figurines and stuff,
Right.
and like so you could sort of make a leap
she
in
did
saying
it.
that she did it. Yeah.
I had
But-
to assume that's what I.
But it
assumed.
is
But
it is
had-
confusing.
We'd never seen her outside of the house in the
but she
hospital.
Right,
kills
but
the
you
guy.
also see the clay figurine
From
at
the
the
house.
bottom. You also, but hold on, you also see the clay figurine at the bottom where the guy was pushed out the window and fell down the stairs. You find that same figurine,
it's-
so you know she
I
visited
thought that was
crime
just
scene.
to say that it came from the house.
True, it could, but it
maybe.
also it infers that maybe she has gone outside the house.
Dude,
somewhere.
you
So
gotta
that-
take a mental health walk sometimes. You
So
know?
that takes us to our next major plot point, which is the death of the director, friend guy.
Who, by the way, sorry to do this, but Will leans over and goes like,
Oh,
I go,
fuck
wait,
off."
fuck. I'm like, who died? And then it's like, Will, the expert, the guy that brought me into this podcast to teach me about horror movies. I'm like, who died? He's like, it's the guy that was the housekeeper. And then like 10 minutes later, he's like, I was wrong.
yeah, I remember that.
Oh, it hurts every time. Yeah.
Wait, did we
so-
already pass the part where she like uses the Waluigi board? And it
Okay, yeah,
fucking-
yeah. So
Well,
this
we
is
do
why
that.
I wanted to talk about. They're two terrifying moments in my opinion, and one of them.
Well-
I told Abbie before that I was like,
Yeah.
this movie has one, in my opinion, really one jump scare. Otherwise, it's more about dread and context.
And I was so mad. I was like, when the fuck is it coming the whole time? And
But it was
still got
pretty
me.
pretty early on when she goes up to the attic about the rats,
Mm-hmm.
and this is when to me I thought, oh, Abbie's fucking scared. dude.
Yeah.
So he,
I was
she's
She's
looking
carrying
at-
the candelabra, with
and
her,
it just lights up in
like
fire.
a torch.
And Abbie, literally, you made that noise that you just made. You were like,
Yep. Yeah.
and I was like,
That was
yes.
awesome.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
like,
I
oh,
loved
that.
it. Yeah.
And then he's just there, and that's the jump scare. Is just kind of not the fire, but then also her being alarmed, and you see just the housekeeper being like, "Are you okay?" You know, like,
and it's such a
and-
good again to the why this movie's so good is that it's like you want the payoff. You want the payoff. What's up there? But it's like it's a fucking spirit. It was there. It's not tangible. You don't see it until it possesses someone. Like it still lives in the world of the film. It works. Even though it doesn't have the payoff you want, but it scares the fuck out of you and it's not like a fake scare.
Yeah.
so well done.
Beautiful.
So
yeah,
that was number
So I love
one.
the moments like that. Real quick, just to comment on that, I love my favorite parts of this movie were not the gratuitous. I don't even call them gratuitous because they were so shocking and they were so effective and so scary. But like these little moments, like in a frame, hidden in a frame, or just like or something that's not so in your face that I thought made this movie so successful and so scary. But anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So the second one is much later in the movie. Well, I can hit a couple of other plot points. Oh, you're right. Yeah. So she claims to be Pazuzu. She's speaking in Latin. The priest is finally convinced. He gets involved. Then the second priest gets involved. There's kind of a lot of buildup. We'd already talked about the fingering.
And just to talk about the fear stuff, what I will say too, from my point of view, it's like, I think the reason looking back that I don't put it like as one of the scariest movies I've seen is because towards the end, when she's fully possessed, that's actually less scary to me because it's like
Yeah.
we know what we're dealing with.
I agree.
The fucking middle part of this movie, like the act 2, was so scary to me. Every time they walked in that fucking theater, my goosebumps. I have goosebumps right now talking about it. Like, I was so scared because you just don't know what you're gonna get, and you're getting parts of her and parts of Pazuzu. If I knew the name, I would have been less scared. That is a hilarious name to me, Pazuzu.
Also,
Do you know what Pazuzu means? I looked this up.
no,
Pazuzu means the southwest wind, and it actually gives you a lot of insight into how the spirit travels from Iraq to Georgetown. Like and there's a scene where the cop goes, "Oh, a draft is a magic carpet for bacteria." And the window's open as the southwestern wind and blows through the and that's something I was like, well, how does that actually like travel? And so looking that up kind of was like, oh, that's really smart.
After I ate that jumbo popcorn, I was dropping Pazuzus left and right. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, can I say something? What you just said though, Abbie, is so like prototypical of a lot of really good horror movies. What's usually most terrifying is the unknown and trying to figure out what is going to happen. There are so many of what I would consider the scariest movies that the third act, once hell breaks loose and it's supposed to be most intense, it loses a lot of its fear.
100%.
I mean,
and I think this didn't lose its quality, but it did lose its fear for me. 100%.
But
once the
that's
priest was there, I
fine.
was like, I love this.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna get to it when the priest dies. All of a sudden, back to now we're top tier. Fucking amazing.
But I think that's fine, and you don't have to be scary in the third act to be a great horror movie if you resolve the plot well. What I hate is when hell breaks loose and they still don't really tie everything together. I thought Talk to Me was really good at that. But I mean, just off the top of my head, like Insidious, they go into like the spirit realm. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Everything loses power. The Conjuring, same thing. Signs is probably the best example.
Yeah.
Like once the like confrontation with the alien.
Signs is a HBM for me. We're gonna deem that right now. That's a hat brim movie. Saw that with you. Was like, yeah, I watched that movie. Fucking hat down low, watching the inside of the fucking New Balance.
I would love to do an episode just so I have to rewatch it because in my mind that is one of the most scared I've ever been in a movie. Signs.
Great movie.
I'm not even joking.
Great movie. Swing Away.
Yeah, but I was terrified, and I saw it as a teenager, and I was in the country, 17 acres of land next to a cornfield. So
actually, to tie this in, speaking of signs, the scampering across the roof, that's the scene where
so good.
Where Reagan, you hear the scampering before you see her come down the stairs. I've seen that in a lot of movies, and there are so many elements in this movie that have been used in other successful horror movies afterwards, like. That scene, I just saw a movie. I forget the name of it, but I just watched it on Netflix. It was a throwaway movie, but you hear like the running before you see the actual thing. But the running in itself is such a like scared. Like it brings me back to a kid when you're running. Like you run to your bed and you're afraid something's gonna like I don't know. It like transports you back to like being a kid, being afraid of like the shadows in the room.
All right, so just trying to kind of like wrap this up. There's the second part that I think was really scary was less of a crescendo of a moment, but she's in her kitchen. It's dark, and I think she's looking around for something or for some reason. But William Friedkin, the whole movie had been doing this thing with these subliminal just shots of just like a one single frame.
Yeah. And
this one was just a little bit longer and a little bit more visible, and it was just like on the cabinet. And Abbie made that same like noise, and that one also I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that one. Like I didn't remember, and it kind of got me.
That's my favorite part of the movie. I went to the bathroom during that part, and I was
no.
so mad when I came back. I was like, did I miss I just missed it.
So I hadn't seen it in just enough time that I had forgotten about. Like I knew the attic scene. Like I knew that. Obviously, I know like all the major points, who dies and whatever. But that was the fact that it had been done the whole movie and most of it was throwaway.
Yeah.
Just like, a second and apparently there's a whole psychology to like how that makes you more scared or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that one that was just a little bit more.
It's like and that's not I mean, they do it throughout the whole movie, but there are also other scenes that in the shadow you see the statue of Pazuzu, the face of Pazuzu. If you really look, like there are some scenes that are even more subliminal than that.
Right,
like
Brendan,
she's walking out of the room. What?
If anybody that is like doesn't know what we're talking about, you want to explain it?
The demon that is depicted in the beginning of the movie as this big this statue in Iraq where that's confronted with the priest. They're standing next to each other. That image is seen twice more throughout the movie. Not just the face, this face that shows up in multiple frames throughout the movie, but the actual statue is shown in dark corners of the room that you can barely see. And what I love about this, especially in this time period when the movie came out, is a lot of people saw this movie in the theaters. I mean, the VCR, I don't think was. I mean, I think it was sort of new. So, like the whole rewinding, did I miss that part?
No, a lot of people didn't know. It was
kind of like it was kind of not.
Yeah, the VCR was not a standard thing.
It wasn't a standard thing. So it was like, what did I just see? That's affecting them, bringing that into the next scene. Like so I just felt like he did a really good job of that. And another movie that I love that employs that tactic very well is Hereditary. Like the mother crawling on the ceiling in the background. That is straight out of the playbook of William Friedkin.
This is so true. It's like Hereditary did it scarier, in my opinion, and yet watching the original version of this, I was still creeped out. The first 2 times they've glanced the face, I said, that's fucking stupid. I'm not actually scared of that. And then, yeah, like Will said, the 10 times in, I'm like, well, my body's scared of it, and my brain's scared of it, so I guess I'm scared of it.
Brendan was almost giving like an even more, like another level of explanation. I feel like what you need to know, and I've never seen another movie do it, Hereditary is not exactly the same in the sense that it is literally a frame. Like imagine old editing. They stick one slide in between a continuous moment where it's just a flash of this face. And it happens at somewhat random moments of the movie. Like pretty random, just a flash of a face to the point where some people didn't even notice it. So it was intended to be subliminal, except for that one moment where it lingers just a second longer and everybody sees it because it's against like a backdrop of like a white cabinet or something.
It's
I don't
range.
remember.
It's a hood on a stove.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I knew it was kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that the Hereditary like comparison is a bit more like something's there, wait till you see it. Where this is, we're gonna not even. We're trying to.
It's a little different, but it's sort of the same hide and seek sort of idea where you're like hiding things that you're not making it apparent to the viewer. You're just kind of like teasing them with things. You're playing cinematic tricks on the viewer, and when they pick up on them, it leaves this like you're duped. You feel like I don't know.
It's like the
bamboozled.
opposite of exposure therapy, where they're like, oh, if we kind of slowly like introduce you to this thing.
Just the theme of the podcast for me.
Without you knowing it, eventually you'll get desensitized. This is the opposite. If we sneak in something scary without you realizing it, you're just going to be more uncomfortable, more terrified. And then when it really gets introduced.
Really,
anyway.
You could say this movie crab walked so other movies could run,
Could crab run.
Crab run. All right.
But yeah, the movie was really great. Also, an interesting fact about the movie that there was a lot of kind of tragedy that surrounded it.
Cursed.
There were 4 deaths. The guy that plays the director in the film. Burt Dennings. He was actually he died of the flu the year the movie was being released. He dies in the movie. He dies before the film. The mother of Father Karras.
The mother of the father.
You're talking about the actors?
The actor that plays Burt
actual
Dennings,
real
who
life-
dies in the movie, dies in real life leading up to the release.
What?
The actress that plays Father Karras' mother, who dies in the movie, dies in real life leading up. I mean, she's older, but she dies before the release of the movie. There's also weird things that the house they were shooting in burnt down, and the only room that didn't burn was the room Reagan, the exorcism happened in.
Fuck out of here.
Also, the woman who plays the mother, she sustained a really bad back injury. The son of Father Karras, he died he got very injured in a motorcycle accident. So there's all these weird connections. Evil.
The son
Wait,
of
hot
Father Karras? He didn't have
the
a
priest
son?
in real life.
Oh,
Yeah, in real life.
All right. Well, so let's get to the very end. So the old priest that comes in to be like the expert, he dies just doing exorcist shit. And then our boy hot priest, not dude, way hotter than quote hot priest from what was that show that everybody loved for so long? You know the
Priest Gone Wild?
Netflix hot priest. You guys don't know what I'm talking about?
What?
do you
Dude,
know?
my family didn't have that channel.
Oh, this is
watch
gonna
different
sound so
websites, dude.
sexist. She's like a female actress and writer. She did the show herself. One of the
Fleabag?
Fleabag. Wow, that was the describing.
Haven't seen it.
Well, hot priest is a character, and this priest is way hotter than hot priest. Anyway,
He boxed.
so hot.
He could hot my box.
He's like Burt Reynolds meets
Oh, he's
God.
God, baby.
yeah. Wow, that's good. Jesus. So, the end is he decides the only way out is to have the spirit inhabit him, which did seem a little abrupt, but also you do.
He was screaming, "Take me, take me." Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like where was the solution before, but it was cool the way it was done and like the way he throws himself out the window and the fall down the stairs. Like
Yeah.
it looked all great.
Yeah, and I think as we go forward, again, comparing to more movies, for me, who has seen so few horror movies, the tying in a knot is important. You know, probably Act 2 is like really what defines if a movie's good, but tying a bow is really what makes the good stand out from the great. And like, what a way to tie a bow, in my opinion, because you had still not a happy ending, but not a horrible ending. You had, again, Talk to Me, I think, pulled it off. You had a death. You need a death at the end if you're going to be a good horror movie, I think. And like a great horror movie. And
Yeah, I don't
they
want a
had
happy
it.
ending.
No, I don't want a happy ending, but I also don't want the lazy way out, which is everybody dies. Okay, fuck you then.
Or they don't
Like,
explain
right,
anything.
exactly.
they're
And in
like,
the end,
well,
he
you
is the hero, right? He couldn't save
hero.
his mom, so he was like, "I'm gonna save this person." And
He also
ends-
didn't.
Yeah,
He didn't seem to have much else that he cared about except for helping this
Actually,
girl.
the
at that
suicide was a happy ending, dude. He had no life to look forward to.
So anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for listening. This is episode 3, and definitely watch this film.
No, but
Don't
we
jack
need to
out
give
the
our-
high priest, and we're gonna have some really good times coming up. Thank you guys so freaking much. Love you guys so freaking much.
We didn't give our scores though.
No, that was a good ending.
So now we're gonna give our scores for The Exorcist. Y'all want to start, Abbie?
Yeah, I'm gonna say as a movie, again, we got 8 on the Binkymeter. This is gonna be a 9.2 for me as a movie. It was so fucking good. It was like I think a theme of all movies, even though we're only gonna review horror movies on this show, a theme of all movies right now is they are too goddamn fucking long. This was long for a fucking reason. It took its
Still
time.
not that long.
Exactly, that's the crazy thing. It still wasn't even that long, but it took its time when it needed to. This was an unbelievable movie. It invented like the possession shit that I grew up hating, but you know is quality. It invented like some body horror shit that I love. It
body
invented.
horror. We didn't even talk
Yeah,
about
we didn't
that.
even talk about it.
The
It
bile.
invented Slime Time Live, dude. Fucking
Slime Time.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
Slime Time
Nickelodeon
2000.
really owes,
Just-
they owe them some royalty.
Gooey, viscous, fucking get it all over my throat. So I'm going to give it 9.2 viscousy Chenaults. That's a football reference. All right. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Actually, we can just go now. Bye.
Viscous.
Peace out. I quit.
No, well, what's your score, Brennan?
I want to give it 9.3. The tiniest little things you ever did see. Spinning heads. Because me lucky and me want.
Well, speaking of moaning, I'll give it 9.5. Hymen penetrating crucifixes. But I will say this. I do think if I had seen this movie in 1973 as the level of horror fan I am right now, it would be a 10. I think it's a near perfect movie for an old movie, but I also will never get to experience the thrill of seeing it when it was truly breaking ground. We can appreciate it for what it's done today and all of the influence, but I do wish I could have been as terrified as some of those people that did not know. And there wasn't Instagram ads every. I wish I
I think
could
there
have.
was Instagram back then, dude.
Oh, actually, yeah, dude.
I mean, yeah, imagine seeing that train movie, thinking the train was coming at you. That'd be fucking scary, too. That's going to be our next
that,
episode, actually.
1913?
We're going to review The Runaway Train, 1913.
Runaway train never come back. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. I can't believe it's episode 3. Can't believe I'm here with my 2 best buds. And guess what? We got some more action coming your way next week. Stay tuned.
2 men and a baby. Oh yeah.